I want to talk to you today about what it's like to actually run a sweepstakes convention, because there's a lot that go on behind the scenes that you may not be aware of. And the idea for this live stream came from a comment I saw on this year's convention, well, technically next year's, the next convention's Facebook group. And one person asked the question, do I really need to stay at the convention hotel? And I thought, uh-oh, they don't understand how this works, because if the people that signed the convention, the contract with the hotel, don't meet the requirements of the contract, they still have to fulfill the contract, which means the money comes immediately out of the convention budget. So let me give you some background on this, and then we'll walk through and we'll do some math. Okay. Now, my name's Carolyn, and I'm known as the Contest Queen. Now, I ran a convention in Canada in 2007, and I ran more. It was more than a mini, because it wasn't just 2 days; it was 4 days. But I ran a maybe semi-convention in 2017. Even after I said I would never do one again. Now I will never do one again. And let me walk you through. So what happened is I had a lot of Canadians talk about having a convention, but they didn't really know what was involved. And I had been to like 3 at the point that I decided I was going to run one. So I took some polls. And at the time, it was a little harder to reach people, because really there was only Facebook, and even that was still new. And it was a lot of emails and chat within the groups. There was some Yahoo groups. There wasn't even Facebook groups at that point. And that was really the only way I could communicate with people. There was no social media, not like there is today. I mean, Facebook was in its infancy. So I decided to host a convention, and I hosted it at the Sheraton, downtown Toronto. I based my contract on what I had gotten from the polls about people that were interested in coming, and what I had seen at the US conventions. So I signed a contract. Now, when you sign a contract with a hotel, you're not just booking the hall. How they work when you host an event is you book the hall for so many people. We also, all the conventions have a banquet of some sort. You get a meal at some point in the convention. I've seen it. It used to always be dinner. And when I first started going, it was always a plated dinner. And then I've seen it go to buffet. And then I've seen it go to luncheon. And I've also seen it go to brunch. And I'll explain why in a minute. If any of you have ever hosted a wedding, you will understand why, because the prices are about the same. Then at a convention, you usually need AV, which stands for audiovisual. You need some screens, projectors, microphones, that kind of thing, because, people need to hear you, speakers. And then, of course, all the things like the convention packets and the swag bags and the lanyards and all the different things. That all has to come out of the budget. So when I was renting the Sheraton, I think it was, now I went looking for the old contracts, because I actually wanted to read you the contracts, but I couldn't find them, because one, I think everything financial that was related to the first convention I ran, because of course I ran it through my business, would have been in the 2007 accounting box. Well, I only keep my records for 7 years, so that's been shredded. And I thought I would keep a copy in a file, but as when I moved, I've moved twice since that one. So again, I would go through my files, and anything super old and redundant, I would shred, because I don't have space. My filing cabinet, I have one filing cabinet, and I just keep it that way. Because if I have stuff sitting there for, 10 years, I do not need it if I've never looked at it again. So that one was gone. Then when I held the mini in 2017, and I'll get to why I decided to hold one, I thought, oh, I've got to have the records for that. But I realized I had bought the domain Sweepscon, which I should have kept, by the way, but I was so sour after the whole thing, I let it go. I didn't renew it. And of course, then I had all my email through that, and I don't have any of those emails left. So the contract, and I didn't keep anything in the file, again, because it's probably in the 2017 accounting box, buried somewhere in the garage. So I would have no idea where to go take it out. Because we have all our accounting in a section, and it's actually on an upper shelf. So I need George and a ladder to go get it, if it's even there. So I couldn't find that either. And then I was looking through the emails, and of course and I didn't have it in a folder. I didn't keep it in a folder. It was probably still attached to email, which I also no longer have. So I couldn't actually read you the physical contract with a hotel to show you all the clauses and the costs exactly at that point in time. But numbers are, approximate. So I can give you an idea of what they expect and why sometimes things seem thinner at conventions than others. So the first thing is, I think the room at the Sheraton, and I think it was about the same. So I think it was $7,000 or $9,000 to rent the room at the Sheraton. I think it was 5 to 7 at the Anaheim. I think it was at the Hilton in Orange County. So they're about the same by the time you do the dollar conversion and the years, passing. The AV equipment, you have to, when I was at the Sheraton, you can't just bring in your own AV equipment. You have to hire the AV equipment that's with the hotel. They're not inexpensive. So we narrowed it down to one screen, like one mic, one roaming mic, and one projector to keep the cost down. And I think that was around, $2,500 at that time for the Sheraton. I never got to that point with the Hilton, and I'll explain why later, like as I go through the story. And then we had a plated dinner at the Sheraton, and I think that worked out to $75 a plate, which is about that. That's why. So if you have a plated dinner, it's one fee, and then buffet is cheaper than that. And then luncheons are cheaper than dinners, and brunches are probably about the same as lunches or cheaper depending on the hotel. So when you start to add up all those costs, you suddenly realize why there's only so much money in the budget for prizes to give out. Now, here's the other caveat. The other and most important clause that people attending need to realize is you are also promising the hotel that you are going to fill so many nights at the hotel. So you give them a date range. You're going to say, okay, so here are the dates of the convention, and we'd like the discount code to be available 3 days before the convention and 3 days after. So if people come into town, they can stay with their families a whole week or 8 days or whatever max, because we always have buffer days. So for example, when we went to Las Vegas, I've learned that I personally prefer, especially if I'm flying, to come the day before and leave the day after. That way I'm not rushing, or if there's a flight delay or if something happens, I have some time on the day that it starts, because it usually starts in the evening. And on the Sunday, if you're leaving on the Sunday, some people have to because they have to work on Monday, but I work for myself, so my schedule is my own. I don't want to have to try and wake up super early and check out and get down to the convention and store my luggage and get down to the convention and then have to finish up and rush to the airport. Since I have the option, I'm going to take that opportunity to stay. Plus then I get to see some more stuff and I get to relax. And then we got late checkout. So when we went to Vegas, we stayed the Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we used up 5 hotel nights. Okay. the so what you do is you estimate how many people are going to attend, how many are going to stay so many nights. So for example, let's get out the calculator. I forgot to get the whiteboard, but there's not really much room in here for a whiteboard anyway with my so if you have, let's say 500 people attending, right? 500 people, assume they stay the minimum nights. So that's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. So that's 3. So that's times 3 nights. They might expect 1,500 room nights. And you go, wait a minute, not everyone's just going to stay in a room by themselves. They're going to double up. So let's say everybody partners up. So that's 250 people or rooms times 3. So now you're contracting for 750 room nights. Okay. And let's say for nice ease, it's $125 a night. So that's $93,000. Okay. So if you contract for 250 room nights, for example, but people are sleeping 4 to a room, or they choose to go stay somewhere else, for example, and you only sell 200 room nights. So there's 50 outstanding based on your contract, and they're at $125 a room night. That's $6,250 that you still owe the hotel, that comes straight out of the convention budget. So let's show how this works. Let's say we're charging $250 to attend the convention, and we're estimating, because we don't have the signups yet, we're estimating 500 people to attend. Okay, that's what we're going to assume. So that's $125,000. You think, well, that's a lot of money. But just wait. Okay, actually, I should have had a pad of paper here. But we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Okay. I have some 3x5s. Guess what I was doing? Okay. So we have $125,000 coming in. But, okay, we have, say, $9,000 for the room. $125,000 minus 9,000. Let's just say it's that. So that leaves you with 116,000. Okay, 116,000 now. So then we have to minus. So here's, let's assume we're going to have a buffet, and so the buffet is only $50 a person. So times 500. That's $25,000. So 116,000 minus the buffet, $25,000, and that leaves us with $91,000. And I'm being really generous here. Let's say the AV is around 5,000. So $91,000 minus. Yeah, I'm being light on the food. The food, I think, is way more than 50 usually. I mean, we didn't have water at the hotel. Like usually there's stations at the back with water, which always costs money, by the way. But in Las Vegas, it was so ridiculous. They wanted $104 a gallon at the hotel. Oh, and I'll explain something else in a second. So let's minus, I'm still thinking 25,000 for food is low, but anyway, it's usually like more like 75 a plate. But anyway, you're starting to get the idea, right? 91,000 minus, what were we minusing? So, the AV. So minus, say, 5,000 for the AV. Now we're at 86,000, right? And then you have like all the costs, the price, like it adds up. The idea is, at the end of the convention, there's no money left. It always is even. So if there's, Bill, there will be a math quiz at the end of this live show. No kidding. It is. Right? Yeah, put $125,000 in black and double the budget. Well, that was in Las Vegas, not here. So I don't know, but I just, the idea is you start to see how expensive some things can get, but some setups are expensive. Some setups are extremely expensive. Like I remember when I was getting quoted one time on the AV for an event. Like I used to be an event manager with a marketing company, and sometimes the AV would be like $25,000, and usually a plated buffet, like a plated dinner, is around $75 a plate. Yes, actually, I ran that number in there, Cynthia, but you know what? You're right. I left out a number because a lot of times if we have a vendor room on top of the banquet hall, there's a fee for that. There's an additional fee for the other room. There's usually also a fee for a table change. So in the past, the conventions used to be a lot of times in classroom style, where it's straight seats and we're all like this and we can sit and everybody's facing the front. And in the last couple of conventions, it's been round tables from the beginning. And that's because they charge to change the room layout. So that's another fee that needs to be done. And then if you want coffee service, that's another fee. Now, somebody said, well, why don't they just have, Dunkin' Donuts sponsor the convention and bring it in? It's actually in the contract that you are not allowed to bring in outside food. Now, if you've got a swag bag and Dunkin' Donuts sponsored the swag bag and everybody got a Dunkin' mug and a thing of coffee and some coupons to go get coffee, that's not breaking the convention rules. Or, you got crumble cookie, individually wrapping cookies that we put in everybody's bag. That's not against the convention rules because you're not serving the food. It's part of like a swag bag that each attendee gets, it's part of the bag. It's not part of the event refreshments. Okay. Also, they also like it if you have an open bar at the thing. So it's called no third party catering. So here's an example. And the other thing too is if you want sponsors. So I was calling every company and their brother to try to get sponsorship, and I ended up with $25,000 in corporate prizing for my event. Like big companies was actually sending stuff. Like it was amazing. But it also took 6 months of my life because all the people that said they were going to assist me bailed. So here I was by myself running a national convention, and I spent 6 months not doing any work for anybody else, but just trying to keep my head above water with this convention that was nobody was attending because I had contracted for so many people. They didn't attend. Now they tried. I didn't fulfill all the hotel nights. However, the hotel was sold out, as it turned out. So when they tried to come back to me and say, hey, we need you to pay these room nights, I said, no, that's double dipping. You guys were sold out. So my people couldn't have stayed there anyway, even if they wanted to. And I didn't have to come up with that money, but it was a lot of money. And thankfully, I'd gotten a lawyer because I thought, I'm in trouble here. But we had figured that out, so I was okay on that stance. But I still ended up spending more on the rooms and the AV and the whole event than we brought in because I had contracted, I think, for like 350 people or something, and only 125 showed up. So I had to pay the difference for all the food, and the room cost was the same. So, and the AV was the same. Actually, the AV had been double. I was able to cut that in half down to, like I said, one mic and one thing. I think originally I had 2 screens and 2 wandering mics, 2 projectors. So I cut that in half. And I think I came down on the some of the costs. But it was dicey because I still had to come up with all that money. And this is why I want people to understand that that's why it's important. First of all, it's why they charge a certain amount at the very beginning and then incrementally increase the cost, because it's better for the convention to have everybody sign up in the first 3, 4, 5 months. So then they have the solid budget to pay and accrue for all the things that they're doing, rather than wonder how many people they're going to get. Okay. That's why the lowest price is right now for next year's event, and why it's going to go up. Because this way, if say they budget for 500 people, I have no idea. I actually haven't talked to the volunteers running next year's event. And that's the other thing. Even each annual National Sweepstakes Convention is volunteer run, and even the volunteers pay to attend. So when their names are in the draws, it's fair. And their food comes out of their food budget, like their plates and refreshments and whatever is being served is coming out of their fee, not out of the actual convention budget or the prize budget. Okay, that's why the people running the event can win, because they've put in their $250 or whatever they paid. And every property, so when I was getting sponsors, every property has certain brands associated with it. So for example, when I was working with the Sheraton, they're a Coca-Cola property. So I couldn't call Pepsi and get them to sponsor the event. Can you imagine at a Sheraton where they're serving Coke and there's Pepsi banners everywhere? That would not go over very well. And because it's also a Coke property, I couldn't call KFC, Lay's, like anything associated with Pepsi. I couldn't contact them to sponsor the event or donate prizes or anything, because they wouldn't want anything to do with it, because it's a Coca-Cola property. Right? So you have to also know those kind of things. So you can't have outside refreshments. You can't have sponsorships from certain brands if you're going that route. I mean, and that's so this is why I was so concerned when I saw that comment about it feels a bit expensive. We want to stay somewhere else. And it's not as expensive as you think, because the expense then returns to the convention itself, that's run by volunteers who are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Because if they didn't volunteer to do it, there would be no more convention. So if it seems a little high to you, buddy up. Like I always travel I always have a convention buddy and split the cost of the room. And the other thing is too, I personally prefer to stay at the convention hotel, because it's just so much easier. Like if I have to run back to the room to grab something, or I want to take a break or whatever it is, you're not that far. I mean, it was pretty far in Vegas. I mean, and Orlando, I remember it felt like a mile. We walked like a mile. And on top of that, could you imagine staying somewhere else when that resort was so big as it was? But I find it easier because you're in one location, all your friends are there. It's just easier to stay at the resort or the hotel or wherever it's being held, if you possibly can, just because it's easier, and it's just more convenient for you. And you are also helping the convention volunteers who signed the contract with the hotel fulfill their contract. Now they can always up it. So say, for example, everybody's listening to me. I'm so proud. I got the word out. People who are waffling on the fence go, oh, we better stay in the hotel. And they go and book nights. So say they contracted for 200 room nights, for example. They start to get to that number, and the hotel will then call them and go, hey, everybody's staying here. Did you want to increase that number? Because we're starting to get towards 225 or 250 because of the rate everybody's booking. then they might have the option to say, yeah, can you offer that discount to a few more people? But if at some point, if they get to 250 and they really don't think anybody else is going to sign up and stay at that hotel, and they're worried that they're going to get stuck with the room nights, at some point they could say, no, that's it. Then, so say somebody left it to the last minute and they tried to go call the hotel and get the convention rate. And they'll say, no, sorry, that code has now expired because they've cut off the time. So then you're just going to pay the hotel whatever the rate is. And it's probably going to be higher than the convention rate. And then at that point, you probably do want to go end up staying somewhere else. And now you're having to drive back and forth to the, you're having to drive back and forth to the event. And some people, like I happen to be driving to Little Rock. Yes, I am a little bit crazy. But I'm thinking of getting a vendor table. I'm still on the fence about it. But I want to visit people on the way, and then I'm already there. I might as well go see Dyke Hadsel in Texas, and I want to visit with Helene Hadsel's granddaughter who lives in Arkansas. And I love Wendy's Coffee House. Wendy Garrett lives in Missouri, so I thought I'd come and kind of do like a big trip and around, and then visit some friends in Nashville, and then come home, like do a big crazy road trip. I might be gone for a month. So that's why I'm wondering if I should, have a table or not, because I'm going to be busy. There's still time to think about it. I'm sure if I decided in a month or so that they could squeeze me in the vendor room, if I choose to do that. So, I'm driving, so I have that luxury. But if I was flying in, like when we flew into Vegas, that's the other nice thing about staying at the hotel. I don't have to worry about trying to get somewhere. Like, now, mind you, in Vegas, everything's like you can just walk to a ton of restaurants and stuff. But when we were in Phoenix, there was, restaurants across the way, and there was places to eat in the hotel. And, it's nice to stay at the event, especially if you're not driving, because it just takes a lot of headache out of the area. I heard there was a vendor room. I'll get someone to go check the convention website. I'm like 99% positive there's a vendor room. If someone wants to double check that. But okay, so maybe I tweaked Lori. Maybe Lori's gonna have a table now too, if there's one. I just thought it'd be fun. Because I'm driving, I could bring down Canadian so there's a lot of raffles and prizes. I could do some Canadian gift baskets like I like to do, and I could bring some books down and some prize swag, and I could just do a whole bunch of fun stuff. I could even get some inventory on some really cool things that I found. Like I used to go to Gans and get all their like 4-leaf clover stuff. Yes, there is a vendor room. Yeah, thanks, Amy and Bill. Bill confirmed it. Amy said it, and Bill put up the link in the chat. I'd pay. Cynthia says, I'll pay you to bring me candy. Don't laugh. That's what I'm thinking about, because I thought, oh my gosh, I could sell butter tarts, but then if I take too long to get down there, I don't want them to get stale. But I could do chocolate bars and peanut butter. And I know you're supposed to sell sweepstakey stuff, but I could sell bags of all dressed chips and ketchup chips, and I'd have a list. I could take pre-orders. I don't know, but then I'd have to drive down. And every time I do one of these road trips, I somehow, like, especially when I went to Helene Hadsel's house, I'd get like more books and stuff. So I'd come back and my car would be like this. George is laughing at me. He goes, "Your rear shocks, you're poor." And it's only me in the car, right? Like just me and all this stuff. And the car's like, eh. So I can only imagine driving to Little Rock with all this like food and prizes and swag. Like, I found, like I put in last year's, I found these beautiful stainless steel bracelets with 4-leaf clovers on them. Yes, Canada does have maple syrup candy. I could find some of that. I know, right? Like, I could do some really fun stuff. Um, and so I could source more of those kind of fun 4-leaf clover things and sell those. And then, of course, I would sell candy. And I don't know. We'll see. And then I'd have to sparse it out because, like, Tom Cavalli, for example, I remember him doing these scratcher things, and he gave out prizes, and he sold all his scratchers the first day. So I would divvy up. So if I brought, say, for example, 40 of some kind of chocolate treat, I would only put out 10 each day, and you'd have to come the next day and try, because that gives everybody kind of an even chance. I don't know. We'll see. Carolyn, the Canadian candy pusher. We'll see. We'll see. It's a lot of work doing a vendor table. Just saying. It's a lot of work, but it is also a lot of fun. So I don't know. That's why I'm thinking about it. But there's so many, now back to the convention, not me just having a little table, but the people running it. So what you're doing for a year to 2 years in advance. So for example, at this year's event in Las Vegas, the volunteers, specifically Shonda, came up and spoke about Little Rock next year. But the other thing they did at this convention is they have a meeting on the Friday night about the future events, and different people come to volunteer. Anyway, the why is their last name escaping me? The Fries volunteered to host it back in Phoenix. So in 2026 is going to Phoenix. So in Little Rock, they're going to have another meeting, and we're going to figure out where it's going in 2027. So you have basically 2 years to Todd Fields. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Todd Fields had mystery envelopes for $1. That's kind of fun. Yeah, some people are very clever at their vendor tables with the different things they offer. So we always know a couple of, so the people that volunteer to run the event have up to 2 years. So they first, Shonda's group's club said, yeah, we're going to host the convention in Little Rock. So they made this decision when it was in Phoenix in 2023. They officially announced, we kind of had inklings it was going to we knew it was going to go to Little Rock, but the details weren't announced and the website wasn't launched until 2024. So they have a year to kind of find the hotel, get the contract, figure out what they're going to do, get kind of the logistics in place. Then they announce it and start taking in the money. So now you have to realize the other thing too is, when they sign that contract, they have to put a deposit on the hotel, like maybe $5,000 to hold the event until they start collecting the money. So someone has generously, loaned the event money for a year while they're waiting for the people to start registering the following year. So that's another thing people might not realize. And it's non-refundable. So if something happens and it's not going to be held, they say something happens before they start accepting registrations. I don't know what could happen, but something happens. They lose that money. That's a non-refundable deposit. So that's the other thing. They've already put out that money. So they finally start taking in money, and then they can start, finalizing what they're doing with the convention. That's why they're also asking for people to volunteer to donate things. Like, can someone sponsor the lanyards? Can someone sponsor the swag bags. Can someone do that? Yes. Please, everyone stay at the hotel. If you don't, these may be the last conventions ever. Exactly. Even if it's 4 to a room, stay, because that's 4 more people in the room. That's probably 4 to 5 more room nights, even across 4 people that wouldn't have stayed there before. Right? So that's the other thing. And there's only so many rooms in this hotel. It is a smaller hotel. So if you actually want to stay at the hotel, you got to book early, because there might not be any room nights left if we sell out. That happened in 2016, the first convention I went to. In Moline, Illinois, there were so many sweepers that they actually sold out the hotel, and they had to, thankfully, there was a hotel next door, a Holiday Inn. They had to go toddle next door and get a convention price for the hotel next door because they had run out of room. And actually, when you come and say, okay, we've sold out this hotel, can we get rooms for this hotel? They happily gave them the convention rate next door at the same rate, so that people would not be like out of sorts. And so the very first convention I went to, because I learned about it so late, we were in the Overflow Hotel, and we had to walk across the parking lot to attend. But it was fun. So that has happened in the past. I have not gone on Google Maps to look around the area to see what's there. That might be something interesting to do. Oh, Bill, Cynthia would like the hotel link, and actually it would be good. I didn't even think to type it up there to put it on the screen. If it's good to have an online assistant. So to recap, the reason I wanted to get on here was I want people to understand how expensive the hotels are and the costs. And if they don't meet those requirements in the contract, it directly comes out of the only buffer they have, and that is the prize budget. So if the prizes seem thin, it's because not enough people stayed in the hotel. And if they contract for, and they get final numbers for the dinners and stuff. I mean, I heard our MC last year, Dan, he was assisting, and I think their budget was so close. They worked so closely on the Las Vegas budget. I think they had $6 when they were done. Like, they were like practically to the penny. Thank you. There's the hotel link. And here is the convention. That's the hotel. That's the other hotel link. And yeah. So there you go. It's basically, you're going to little-rock-2025.com. That's what you're looking for. And so, yes, it's important to do that. So you want to stay there because you're helping the staff, and then there will be more prizes for you to win because they will have their maximum funds left over. And I know they've already started spending a little bit of it because they're smart. They're looking out for deals and sales. And especially, I know a lot of times they buy a lot in the next couple of months, because Black Friday and Christmas sales and Boxing Day sales, they go and they swoop up lots of things that are absolutely fun and popular. I mean, I think there was a big sale, I think, on Creamy. I don't know how many they bought. I thought they bought, I don't know, a few. That's the other reason I'm driving. It's so much easier if you win a big prize. I got my Roomba home from Las Vegas barely in my suitcase. And it's so nice. I set it up. I finally set it up, and I figured out how to make it work. And once a week, I put all the chairs up on the tables and I let it run around. It's so nice to have something extra to clean, to help with the cleaning. I mean, you still have to go in the corners and but just to help keep the dust down. And we don't have any pets, thankfully. Yeah, in New Hampshire, there was so many big prizes. Um, oh, yeah, in New Hampshire, let me correct this. New Hampshire was 50-50 because it was still semi pandemic. So they were a hybrid convention. 325 people, I believe, were in person and approximately the same virtually. So they had like 650 people attend, but only 325 people were there. And then if you were attending virtually, they shipped out the prize. So they had to make sure they had the budget, not only for the prizes, but for the shipping on top of that. And they know how to buy prizes. There was so many prizes, it was crazy. So yeah, that's an event. Oh yeah, Laura said this. This is a good comment. I've helped with the national and numerous times minis in North Carolina, and the only one we did not have to commit to a hotel is when we had a smaller one and did not use the hotel. We used a place a member belonged to. Yeah, it makes a big difference, right? When you can, so like when there's a mini and it's not actually at the hotel, you can call a hotel and say, hey, we're having an event in town. Could we get a rate for our attendees? We expect this many people, but you're not signing a contract. But, they know that people are coming and they're going to sell so many room nights. So they're encouraged to give out a discount because, rooms filled at a lower price is better than an empty room, right? Because hotels work on, if a room isn't filled one night, you can't get that room night back. It's gone. It's time. Like you're renting time, basically. Um, so they're happy to do that, right? It's smart business. Oh, the hotel down the street from this venue is going to give us a deal, sure. And then we all stay there, and they're happy because they filled the hotel, and we're happy because we got a good deal. And it's not far from the event when it's a smaller one. That's what the minis in Michigan used to be like, right? Because it was held at a banquet hall. When Al used to run them, oh, I miss him. They were held at a banquet hall, and so we would just rent a room, and the food was always phenomenal. I think the food. I think we would pay like $100 to go, and I think he told me at one point the food was like $55 out of the 100. Like it was like more than half of but it was so good. And that covered. They didn't really have AV because it was just a microphone, which they had for the banquet hall because they would have weddings there, so they just had a speaker system built into the room, and then there was no projector or anything. It was a one-day event, like we start at 11 and finish at 4, kind of thing. And we'd have a big lunch. It was a luncheon buffet. And they served dessert as part of it, but someone would always, like someone worked somewhere and they would end up bringing in a big slab cake or something too as a bonus, and the venue, because we would rent it every year, I don't think they really cared about an extra cake because we've paid for all the food that we're eating anyway. It's not unlike a wedding and they bring in a wedding cake, right? Like you've paid for what you're using. So yeah, that's the other thing. Laura says that this is the other reason why donations are good, and contribute where you can. Well, that's what I'm doing here. Like I'm contributing my time and my knowledge to make sure that everyone's aware why they should stay at the convention hotel and how much things cost. I'm going to see if I can find another contract and blog about real numbers, current numbers, because it's far more expensive than people think. And this is why some of the hotels, like we used to do sit down dinners that were banquet, like a table service. Then then you saw it switch to buffet style because that's cheaper. And then I've seen it switch to a luncheon because lunches are always cheaper than dinner. And one, we had a brunch, which was probably either cheaper or more accessible than lunch. I don't know. I can't remember why we had brunch. Brunch was very good though. And it was a brunch buffet. It wasn't even a plated brunch. So yeah, you donate what you can when you can. So I donated this last convention. I think I donated $1,300 in prizes directly to the convention. Like I did a boxing video. You can go back and watch it. I'm in my living room packing an insane amount of prizes. And then I should have filmed myself at the UPS store packing the boxes to ship, because I didn't have boxes big enough. And I thought, well, I'll just buy them at the UPS store. Oh my gosh, those were expensive. So I bought the 3 boxes, and I had thankfully had the sense to bring tape, but I had her, tape the bottoms anyway, so I wouldn't use as much of my tape. So I had her tape the bottoms, and I went out into the parking lot, and I thought, oh, this should have been a video for TikTok, like all sped up, watching me take all this stuff out of my car and evenly space it between these 3 boxes to get it to Las Vegas intact. Because there was glass. I had these glass cups that said Lucky, and I filled them with candy and little stickers and all kinds of stuff. So I had to get those to Vegas intact. So I shipped all that stuff. And then I bought so much candy to give away in person that I ended up having to pay for an extra suitcase there. Well, it turns out that was a good thing, because I needed that extra suitcase to bring what I won back. So it cost me an extra $100 for 2 suitcases. Because the first one, because I used my Air Mile, like my Aeroplan credit card, I always get a bag free. And I couldn't gate check it. Oh, and then I had my carry-on that was so heavy, I gate checked it, because I didn't want to actually have to try and deal with it. It was full of candy. And I didn't know if something would happen to any of the suitcases, because you hear stories of suitcases going awry. So what I did was I split my clothes. At first I had all my undies, socks and one, and t-shirts and shorts in another, and pajamas in another. I did all the packing cubes, and then I thought, if something disappears, I'm in trouble. So I undid all the clothing, and I split them into two days worth of outfits in this one, 2 days worth of outfits in this one, 2 days worth of outfits in this one. So I thought, well, if a suitcase disappears, at least I'm not going to be naked on this trip, or only have half of something. So I did that. I've learned that you should split stuff up. So I did that. I split all my stuff between the bags to kind of evenly weigh them out. And also, if something happened, that I wouldn't be left without. So that's what I did. And I had so much to give away. And a lot of people do donations. Some people are smarter than me in a way. Like, I love giving this stuff away because it's Canadian, and you guys don't get Canadian candy and the peanut butter and all that stuff that I give away. Tom just gives cash or gift cards. So he just can literally donate out of his pocket. He doesn't have to ship anything. He doesn't have to, do any of that stuff. If he wants to donate cash, he just sends them an e-transfer or a money order, and then they just get the cash and put it in envelopes with his company name on it and hand it out. Or I think Sweep Sheet does the same. They give cash in envelopes, but with Sweep Sheet swag. They'll have a Sweep Sheet. Oh, this is a tongue twister. A T-shirt with some cash, in an envelope tucked inside. Things like that. So if you're attending, it's always good to donate too. And fun things. And then I haven't looked to see what other draws they're doing, but this year's and actually last year's, they had something called the lucky draw and a state draw. So if you brought anything that looked lucky, you got so many tickets for the draw. And then if you brought anything from your state, you you got, so when I was in New Hampshire, I brought 6 jars of Kraft peanut butter, which seems to be the biggest hit of a prize. And so I ended up, I think it was 1 ticket for every $5. So I had 6 tickets and I won a state bag. So that was kind of fun. And then Lucky, I donated, what did I donate for the Lucky one in New Hampshire? I don't remember. But this year, and because we were flying to Vegas, I found these 4-leaf clover pillows. I was like, these are so cute. I bought 6 of them. I kept one for myself. And I donated 5. And I got, I think, a ticket per. I got 5 tickets. I did not win a Lucky prize pack. And then I donated a bunch to the state. I think I got 6 tickets for that too. I didn't win either one of those this year, which is funny. But I took more peanut. No, what did I donate for the state? I donated something Canadian. Oh, I had the big prize bags with things inside. So, yeah. Oh, Laura says, been using the peanut butter, Jamie, one in the basket you donated. Yeah, we did this. If you go look at the pictures, they're terrible. On Facebook, I do all the photo albums, and I link them in the blog posts. And in North Carolina, I had this vision. I never participated. Also participate if they have events. It's kind of fun. But they have a gift basket competition. So everybody decorates these gift baskets. So they're donating the gift basket to the event. And then people vote on the gift baskets. And then they give away all the gift baskets. So you could win a prize for decorating the best basket. And then you can win a basket. So it's really fun. There's a double, and everybody's participating. It's very fun. I'd never done it before. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. I had this envisionment of doing like a frozen tundra gift bag with all these Canadian treats. And it was going to look like sparkly snow, and it was going to have like hills and things. Yeah, what I envisioned and what came out was not even close to the same. And then also I discovered, because I got the shrink wrap cellophane, it turned out the dryer in the hair dryer in the hotel wasn't very hot. Like, I didn't bring my own because I thought, oh, there's one in the room, I'm going to save space. Oh my God, it was terrible. So I couldn't get it to shrink wrap properly. And then everything that I had brought that I thought would, make all these hills, it ended up looking like a big lump of white crumpled tissue paper, because I had hidden all the prizes inside to make it look like hills. It did not look like hills. It was just like it's like I just crumpled white tissue paper and just scrunched it in and then covered it with cellophane. And Laura's husband won it. Now, they loved it, what was inside, but it was not pretty at all. It was not pretty. But what's fun, oh, thanks. Okay, for Little Rock, wrong one, we loved it. For Little Rock, there's friendship and kindness items. Ooh, soup and dip mixes and gift cards. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Now I have to put my thinking cap on. Oh, what is happening with these comments? So it's really funny. But I encourage everybody to participate. So yeah, so now we have time. So those prizes I tend to take with me in my suitcase. So I even have more time than shipping them in advance, because usually they don't want them in advance. You have to submit them and then get your tickets at the event, and then you're in the draw and hopefully you win something. And you get a little bit of what everybody's donated. Friendship and kindness. I think I saw something today when we were out that's going to fit that. Now I have to go back to the store. Quickly run to the store before. That's funny that I saw that. Yeah, I love I agree. I love the new ideas. But again, I just want to encourage everybody to know that running an event is extremely expensive. There's never any money left at the end. They're not doing it for profit. This is a not-for-profit event. They spend everything they take in. And you want to make sure that none of the volunteers have to spend any money out of their own pocket because we didn't stay in the hotel, or we didn't donate enough, or we didn't help enough. As a sweepstakes community, attending. And it's why less and less people are willing to actually run a convention, because some people have been burnt in the past. So it's very, you have to support the people that are supporting you. And we want these conventions to continue. Like, we want somebody to be, oh, this was so great, we want to run one for 2027. And that's why. And so I never did tell. So what happened in California, in 2017, so in 2016, it was announced that, or even in 2015 anyway, in 2017, it was going to be on a cruise. And the problem with the cruise was that it wasn't during the summer. So anybody that was a teacher or had kids that were back in school couldn't attend. And then it was also a week long. So a lot of people liked it where it was just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they only needed to possibly to take 2 days off work. Like, if you flew in on a Thursday morning and flew out Sunday afternoon, you could still attend the whole convention, not miss anything, and not only miss 2 days of work. So only use 2 personal days. So when it was a week, that was thing. And then some people don't like cruising. And it was also during a Jewish high holiday. I think it was Rosh Hashanah. Please forgive me if I got the holiday wrong. So, there was a lot of different things that were a problem with it. And so many people asked me to host one. So I said, all right, I'll host a small one. But even I had overestimated. And when I wasn't getting enough people booking the hotel nights, I had to eat the deposit, and we just had to host it somewhere else. And so many people were mad at me, but I think I spent about $10,000 out of my own pocket because of that fiasco. The first one, I lost 15 because a lot of Canadians thought so the chatter in the groups was I was doing this. They didn't understand how it was nonprofit, because I was running it through my business, and thankfully, to protect myself. They didn't come. They said, oh, well, we're going to see how the first one goes, and then we're going to come to the second. But how it works is you have to at least break even for the first one to host the second one, or even better, make a small profit. Because what you do is, so say the first one was run properly, but you made a bit of money. So like I said, you have to put a deposit on the hotel for the next year. So the idea, like if you're going to do something annually over and over again, it's the same people. Like, let's assume it's the same people. I would want to host a convention and have $5,000 left over, because then that's the deposit for the next year's event. So you have what they call seed money for the next event. So you always want to spend the whole budget except for the money for the next deposit. So basically, you're kind of running at a net zero, right? Because then, so say, for example, I would take $5,000 out of my bank account, put it as a deposit on the first hotel, run the event, pay myself back the $5 that I spent, right? Because that would have been out of the budget, have $5 left over at the end. So then it's never out of my own pocket again. It's out of the community, and then run the next one, and then run the next one, and then run the next one. So that it's always continually just paying for itself, but there's no profit. There's nothing left over at the end, because you've used it to pay for the room and the swag bags and the AV and the food and whatever else you've done. So that's how that works. And then for the one in California, because I lost the deposit, they also wanted to come after me for the whole amount. So I had to get a lawyer again, but this time I had to get a lawyer in California, and I got him on the phone, and I told him the situation. He started laughing. I'm like, okay, this isn't funny. Why are you laughing? And he goes, they're not going to do anything. He said, they're just going to call you a couple times, try to get the money out of you, and then they're going to leave it. Because it turned out the hotel had completely filled up because I think Katy Perry came into town and sold out and had an event in that hotel and rented all the rooms that I was going to be renting and sold out the hotel. So they didn't actually lose any money. They probably actually made more money because I wasn't there. So the lawyer said to me, at least I think it was Katie. I don't know who it was now. It's been 7 years. I don't remember exactly. So the lawyer said to me, yeah, they're going to call you 2 more times and then you'll never hear from them again. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, I know how this works. He said, the amount that they would spend on legal fees would be more than what you owe them. So they're not even going to bother. And then he said, it's next to impossible to get a judgment on somebody that's out of state, let alone out of country. And it's through a corporation, not a person. He said, so you've got like, they'll never call you again. And I went, okay. So how soon should you book a room? Now. As soon as you can. Now, that's the other thing about the rooms. So what used to happen is people would book the rooms, and then they would discover there's a cheaper fee elsewhere, or hotel just happened to be having a special, so they would cancel like 24 hours before the convention and then rebook under the other thing. So it would cancel out the hotel room nights, even though they would still stay in the same hotel, but it wouldn't be under the contract. So what the convention people had to start doing was, you're going to prepay for one room night. So say I'm going to book for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. So it's 5 nights. So when I book the hotel, when I go online or call, depending on the thing, it will ask for my credit card and it will charge me right now for 1 out of the 5 room nights. And then I pay the balance, like, you know, when you get there, when you check out, you pay the difference. And that's why they started doing that, asking for that deposit. So people weren't canceling out of the hotel and leaving them short room nights on their contract. Because if you've already spent the first night, like you've already paid for the first night, you're probably just going to stay in the hotel. So that's the other reason they do that. So people that haven't run one of these events see some of these things happening and go, why do they have to do that? Well, that's ridiculous. I don't want to pay for that room night now. Okay, don't. Just wait till later and you might not get the same rate, or the hotel might be sold out and you're staying somewhere else. But that's why some of the things occur, like why they want you to book the convention ticket as soon as possible, why they want you to book any, like if you're going to the after party, I'm not going to be attending, but if you want to attend, buy those tickets as soon as possible, why they want you to book the hotel as soon as possible, why they want you to stay as many nights as you can. Like I said, for me and my situation, I personally prefer to come in a day before and leave a day after, because that gives me a buffer. And I might actually even stay an extra night because I want to go to the hot springs. Sounds like so much fun. And apparently, I wanted to do this before, but there's a place you can go and look for diamonds. They're on the surface. You're not digging. It's so cool. Apparently, if you can catch it after it rains, the whole land sparkles. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then the other thing, and I happened to do this when I was coming back from my last trip to Texas, I stayed near Little Rock because I had my original plan. Our original plan was to hang out with Melissa, Helene Hansel's granddaughter, and she, I don't know, we had a miscommunication, and my schedule and her schedule didn't actually match. And she thought I was coming on some days, and I thought I was going on other days. I don't know how we got our wires crossed, but we did. So I just stopped in and met her for tea and gave her some of her grandmother's things that she never had because I ended up with them. So like, I don't have her crystal ball. I gave Melissa her crystal ball, and we went through her books. I gave her a bunch of the books. I only kept the ones that I really needed to, like, that she talked about in her books that I needed to maintain her legacy. but I found one that I loved, but it was signed from Pat, her grandfather, to Helene. Like, it was a birthday message. I'm like, oh, you have to have this book. So I took her all those things, like the Blue Buddha, some of the I just kept one of the crystals. So anyway, I went and saw her, and then I went and stayed at a hotel just outside Little Rock. And then my friend Kathy, who I met up with in North Carolina when we attended the mini. She taught me a trick of always go to a Goodwill near me. Well, I did that when I was in Little Rock. I ended up at one of the big locations where it had the bins, which was kind of on one of my bucket lists. So I want to go back because that's in Little Rock. I should post that in the Facebook groups, but bring gloves, and everything's by the pound, and you should be there before it opens. I'm going to try it again, and I'll see who wants to come with me. I think I can squeeze up to 4 more people in the car. Comfortably 3, maybe 4. If they just squash in the back seat. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. And that's the other thing, is you can do all these things with Sweeper Friends if you book extra time there, and you might as well, because you're getting a convention rate on the hotel. It's going to be the cheapest you're going to find in the area. So you might as well stay. And it's a great chance to see different things. Yeah, Amy says she wants to check out the bins, and Laura says she wants to check out the hot springs. So fun. Yeah, the bins are a little overwhelming. I didn't realize it was a bins location when I put it in my map. So I arrived late, and already there was people with piles high. But these are the adventures. So those are the kinds of adventures that you have when you're at the conventions. Like we've gone to baseball games. We've done tours. Some of the excursions, now they're not part of the convention and they're not part of your ticket, but they contact different places to get us deals and package rates. You say, hey, if you want to book this, call this company. They're going to give us a deal on this. And a lot of people do it. And it's a fun, inexpensive way to see what's around where you are. When we were in Atlanta, we went to a Braves game and we did World of Coke. When we were in Boston, we did a tour of the city in a trolley. When we were in Moline, Illinois, we did a river cruise. What else have I done? I've done all kinds of things. Every time it goes to a different place, we take advantage of what, Bill's saying they went on a train ride in New Hampshire. So yeah, there's all kinds of things to do in the area, and it's really fun to do it with sweepers. But again, I implore you to support the convention in all the ways that you can. And I'm going to see you in Little Rock, because I'm definitely going to be there, and maybe even have a vendor's table. We still have to figure out the logistics of that one. But and if you have any questions about sweepstakes conventions, message me and I'm happy to answer them. Leave them in the comments. Actually, that's even a better idea, because if you have a question, I am positive someone else has the exact same question. So if you post the question in the comments, then myself and other people can answer it. And that way that information gets shared. So again, please attend if you're attending the Sweepstakes Convention, which why wouldn't you be? It is the funnest event of the year. Stay at the convention hotel and also support the convention any way you can with donations, volunteering, anything like that. And all the details are on the convention website, which is in the description, which should be in the description. And I will see you there. And if you have any questions about sweepstakes in general, you can always send them to questions@contestqueen.com, because now you know.